All right, we now have joining us on the Sharks Audio Network. It is the head coach of the San Jose Sharks, David Quinn. Coach, this is my first question for you, and it may be covering something you've already touched on. Have you tried telling your team that they don't have to go down by 3 or more before they come roaring back? It's one coaching philosophy I do believe in, is not finding a multi-goal deficit. I'm hoping you've espoused that to them as well.
Yeah, building a Grand Canyon hole for yourself isn't the recipe for continued success. And if your goal is to kill your coach, they're doing a hell of a job of it. But just listen, I mean, the other night was unique in so many ways. It's 4-0, and we all felt as a staff, we're playing good hockey, and it's 4-0 of a 40-second barrage that really just bounces on, just hockey, right? And then, watching the game again, I didn't realize we scored our first goal with 5:50 to go in the period. I thought it was like at the 10-minute mark. And to come back the way we did and just do it the way we did, and just really is a testament to our players and their mindset and their togetherness, and just so many great things about that comeback win.
Yeah, it was a phenomenal win, the win of the season, in my opinion, which is saying something because you guys had just had the win of the season 2 nights before that against the Islanders. And really we saw, kind of that same vein against the Rangers last Sunday when you guys were down 6-3 and then came roaring back. Obviously, we're watching the team grow before our eyes, Coach, but what are you seeing? Because obviously you have the most intimate view. You're watching it in practice. You're seeing it on the buses, on the planes, back at the hotels. What is the big difference? Or was it just a matter of, hey, this was going to come at some point?
Well, you can't think you're good. You can't be good unless you think you're good. And obviously our start really stripped us of any type of swagger or confidence that we could have or should have. And, you slowly earn it. You slowly get your way out of it. You start having better practices. You start winning some hockey games. And all of a sudden, a bunch of guys that really have never played together before, even though they were in the same jerseys, doesn't mean you're a team. You got to evolve into a team. You got to pay the price to become a team. You got to have some highs and some lows. We started having a lot more highs than lows. And I think all of a sudden, we look a lot better. We're better on our own end. We're better in the neutral zone, and we're better in the offensive zone. And, I know we're giving up too many goals. It's still something we really have to be more aware of. That being said, I liked our defensive mindset the other night in Detroit. I thought, we looked better defensively, even though that may sound crazy, even though we gave up 5 goals. But, we've gotten so much better in so many areas that, guys feel good about themselves. They feel good about their own individual performance, and they feel good about their teammates' performances.
The one that really kind of gets me when I look back at what's happened in the last month now, since the 2 games we do not speak of, as I like to call them, but you guys get those first 2 wins. You go out on the road, you have the losses against Anaheim and Vegas, but you were playing good hockey in both those games. And really everything since then's been fine. It's that one game against Seattle. Like, that's the one which is way more of the aberration. When you look at every game that preceded it and came after it, that's the one that makes no sense to me. Does that game now make even less sense to you when you look at how the team has really changed, since that first win against Philadelphia?
Yes and no. You're gonna, 82 games, and I know our start was what it was. You're gonna have outlier games every now and then, right? It's just happened. I look back, I probably would have done a few things differently leading into that game, and I think we had beaten St. Louis on Tuesday. Probably should have given them the day off. I contemplated giving them Wednesday off and having a pregame skate on the day of the game, and I didn't. And we actually had a really good, high-paced 25-minute practice. Maybe that had something to do with it. I don't know. But it was just one of those nights. We just stunk. We stunk. And, okay, you stink. What are you going to do about it the next night? And we came back and played a much better hockey game and have played good hockey pretty much since then. I mean, You can't overreact every game. You can't. And, obviously the 2 games where we give up a 10 spot, I mean, you got to remain calm through these situations, and it's a journey and a process. And, we're slowly digging ourselves out of the hole we created for ourselves.
You say you can't overreact, but do you want to overreact in those moments? I mean, after the 2 bad games with the 10 spots, you were pretty cool. You were kind of like, hey, let's, brush it off. But you were more, you ticked off after the Seattle game. That was the one time that you kind of said like, hey, this is, unacceptable. And you let it be known. But I got to imagine like you probably have that desire to react more greatly to every game, but you have to kind of tamp it down to, pick your moments.
Well, I think it's having the pulse of your team and understanding, where they're at and what they need. And, after those two losses, the thing that, you know, the, the Vancouver game just got away from us. I mean, it was just one of those games where we give up power play goals early. We're down 4-0. You're down 4-0 and you're 0-100 or whatever we were at the time. So, that's what happened. Teams have been losing 8-1 this year. Ours happened to be 10-1. If those two games were anything but 10, you wouldn't have had half of the reaction to what the reaction was to those games. You just wouldn't have. Yeah. So my job is to not react the way everybody else is. My job is to react where, what are we going to do as a staff to put our team in the next best position to play good hockey? It's not, I can't pay attention to the way everybody else is reacting. My job is to react the way I need to react so we play better hockey.
I think everybody talks about coaching and they get so locked in, David, on the X's and O's and what you're saying about your F3 and what you're doing on the kill and the power play. But to me, so much of that is the psychological game and it's completely overlooked. And you alluded to knowing how to read the room, but I'm sure there's moments where after whether it's a tight loss or a bad loss or a good win, where you've got to go talk to a guy and you've got to get into his ear. Cause I've seen it in practice. I won't name the player, but there was somebody who was doing a drill wrong and you put your hand up. He said, Hey, what are you doing? You got to do this. And the next time he did it right, and you were there right in his ear as his biggest cheerleader, giving him a pat on the back. Like that's the stuff to me that is completely overlooked because everybody wants to focus on what the schematics are, but they miss the human aspect of it.
Well, to me in this day and age, that is the most important part of coaching, especially at the National Hockey League level. I mean, it's so much more managing the players and egos and, having the ability to adapt from player to player because, coaching can be a selfish profession. You want to react the way will make you feel good. And that's not what it's about. It's about reacting the way the player needs you to react so he can be a better player. And, sometimes it's not what they want to hear. Sometimes it's not the ice time they want to have, but, people learn in different ways and in different time frames.
It's true. And I think that's, one of the hardest aspects is knowing how to push those buttons. And obviously you've pushed the buttons, in the last month, we've watched the team get better and better and better. You talked about the defense being the one that maybe needs to tighten up a bit, but how much of this is, you've got to play the game as it's presented to you. Like against the Rangers, they try to open it up. And I can see there being a moment where you think to yourself, okay, if we don't match them, we could get pinned in our own end forever. And so you start going back and forth with them. And it seemed like that did get the offense rolling pretty well because it's been consistently scoring since then. So do you have to look at each game as its own individual piece of work, or do you try to look at it as like, okay, this is what our trend is? Because I think it can be both, right? Like each game is an individual, but also indicative of where things are with the team overall.
Well, we're going to play a much different game tomorrow night than we did against the Rangers, just completely different teams. And the funny thing is about the Ranger game, we actually, quote unquote, defended pretty well. Our problem was around our net, and a lot of it was our forwards and turnovers. So there's a lot that goes into defending. It's not just your D-zone structure and defending, your quadrant and ending one-on-ones. There's other things that go into it, and we, weren't good in those areas. And you may want to check and cover Panarin if you're going to play the New York Rangers. Weren't really that.
He's pretty good. That wraparound goal that he had, man, like everyone knows it's coming and he still does it. Like that's the great players when he does something like that. He's fun to watch. Looking ahead to Vegas, a game one of the year when you went up against them, I thought that we did a really good job against contesting pucks, getting in their faces, making life uncomfortable. The most recent game there, they scored the 2 early goals, but then things really kind of settled down and it looked more like that first game. Can you look at those two games previously and take a lot into it? Or do you say like, nah, that was, early in the NHL season, we're in the middle of December now. It's hard to derive as much meaning from those. Or can you look at what worked and figure out where to go from there?
Well, we're a much different team than we were in the first game. First of all, I know Granlund played, but that was the game he got hurt in the second shift, and he was a shadow of himself. It's 1-1, I think, or 2-1 them, and they scored 2 goals within 30 seconds at the end of the second period, which really changed the complexion of the game. Up to that point, it was a pretty good hockey game.
Yeah.
And next night we played them here. It was back-to-back. We played Edmonton. They had lost 3 in a row. We just got off an incredibly emotional win against Edmonton. I didn't love our game. It was 2-0 in the third period, but it really didn't feel like a 2-0 game. I mean, and our power play let us down. Well, our power play is a lot better now. We're a lot better now. I'm excited to see how this looks tomorrow.
Yeah, no, myself as well. And then, just to talk about your goalies, it's weird seeing their numbers at times because it's not really in line with the play that both of them have exhibited out there on the ice, both Blackwood and Capo. Like they're just, trees get chopped down if they take enough blows. And I feel like that's been more of the instance with both those guys where it's, it's not been on them. Granted, the broadcast focuses on the goalie after every goal that's scored. So that's where people think, but it must be pretty nice for you to have both those guys have shown so much of their ability up to this course of the year. Like there have been nights where they've stood on their head, and they've been nights where they've just been completely sound and the team's been better around them. And it's nice knowing that both options are there for you, I suppose.
Yeah, it is. We feel very confident both our goalies. And I like to point that you touched on, you look at the numbers and you may get fooled by them, but, our goalies have done a hell of a job. And, we need to help them out a little bit more, and we're getting there. We're getting there. I mean, our mindset is changing a little bit. I think we're managing pucks better. I think we're defending better. We certainly spend a lot less time in our end, which is helping a lot. So, but our goalies have been very good this year.
I think one of the most impressive things about this season for me was it was right before this road trip began. You're doing your post-game presser with all of us, and an outwalk, I think it was Logan, it was Zadina, it was Ruda, and Barabanov, who were all still injured. Obviously, you get all those, but Logan back now. But at that point, that was when the team was turning it around and has continued to play better. And those are 4 guys we would have penciled into the lineup, no doubt, at the start of the season. Logan's been out for the duration, but it's happened, the improvement in the midst of dealing with those injuries. Like that to me, whether it's Bailey coming up, whether it's Carpenter coming up and getting his opportunities, Thrun's up now once again. Like that's got to make you feel good as well.
It really does. We've faced adversity from a winning and losing standpoint. We certainly have faced our fair share of adversity from an injury standpoint. And, to have this stretch here where we've been playing much better hockey, a record over 500 over our last 16, winning in the fashion we have, getting our first road win, scoring more goals, certainly is a testament to our group and their mental toughness and resiliency.
Well, Coach, I will let you go. I know it's an off day, but I appreciate your time. Have fun with the rest of your trip in Vegas, and we'll see you back here. All right, man?
All right, Ted. Thanks.